Okay, so trig ratios. All right, the first thing we need to remember, or at least to not remember, but is helpful, is the word so, ka, to. And this deals with the 6 trig ratios we will be dealing with the most. All right. In fact, I'm going to go to a separate sheet of paper and do this part. So the so says that for any sine ratio, we take the opposite side, that's the O part, and we divide it by the hypotenuse side. Okay? That's the so part. The ka part is for the cosine ratio, and we take the adjacent side, which means the side next to it, and we divide that by the hypotenuse. All right? And the toa part is we take the tangent ratio, which means we take the opposite side and divide it by the adjacent side. All right? So what we're talking about here in general is we're talking about right triangles, okay? And we're talking about angles, we'll call them A, B, and C. Now C here is a right angle, right, so it doesn't matter. We don't include that with our ratios. We only include A and B. So for example, and if I'm gonna say I'm gonna label this side O A, I'm going to label this side C, I'm going to label this side B, lowercase, okay? So if I say sine of A, I am talking about this angle right here. And sine of A means, based on our ratio, is I divide the opposite side, there's my opposite, and it's opposite because that means opposite, by the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side, and it's always the one opposite the right angle. So this is equal to A, that's the length of that side, divided by C, that's the length of the hypotenuse. And that is our solution. All right? Now, if I say cosine of A, right, again, we're dealing with this angle right here. And remember, our cosine ratio is adjacent over hypotenuse, and the adjacent side is the side that's next to the angle. Okay, next to the angle, there's my adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. Now, the hypotenuse is never the adjacent. Hypotenuse is only the hypotenuse. So once again, this one is simply the side length, B, divided by my hypotenuse, C. Okay? And the last thing we're going to look at here is, let me box that up nice and pretty, okay, is the tangent of that same A. Now it doesn't matter if we're dealing with A or B or C or theta or anything else. All right, it's all the same general process. All right, and this is going to be tangent of A is going to be equal to, we're looking at A, and it's equal to the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So the opposite side for this is the same as it was for the opposite side of that, and my adjacent side is this. So tangent is equal to A, that's the opposite side to A, divided by my adjacent side, or B. Okay? And that is my tangent ratio. And that's all we're concerned with right now is our ratios, okay, our relationships in that regard. So, back to the worksheet. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of these. Right, I want you to do them yourself. So in this case right here, sine of theta, we'll stay with the red. So we have our theta is right here. A little closer. Okay? Boom. Okay, so sine of theta is equal to, remember, the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Well, if I'm looking at this theta, if I'm looking at this theta, the opposite side, and remember it's never the hypotenuse, is right there. That's the opposite side there. And my hypotenuse is the one that's opposite my right angle, or it's my longest side, so it's 14. So sine of theta is equal to 6, which is my opposite side, divided by 14. If I want, I can reduce, but I do not need to reduce or simplify. That's my answer. Okay? All right. Now moving on to the next one. Cosine of theta. So cosine, remember, is the adjacent hypotenuse. So in this case, here's my theta, right? My adjacent, and I need to remember, my hypotenuse is the longest side, so there's my hypotenuse. My adjacent side is what's next to that angle. In this case, it's 12. So cosine of theta is equal to the adjacent side, 12, divided by my hypotenuse, 15. And once again, I can reduce if I want. This becomes 4/5. But I don't have to at all. Okay? And that is my 2 workout examples for the sine and cosine. All right, I'll let you do the tangents. I take it back. Really shouldn't. Now I'm going to leave the tangent for you. You got it. All right, so your homework the rest of today is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And do your best. And I expect them done by 1 o'clock tomorrow. You can submit them via email. See ya.